take that off for a second. Intro. This is killing me.
Intro.
Okay, I guess TTS Trump's just...
Intro.
Oh, nope, there we go. Hey, we have intro. Intro. All right. This is going to be fun to edit. Anyway, hi. Welcome, chat. And anyone else who's watching on YouTube. I have
titty sprinkles.
This is how we're starting today. My wife mentioning titty sprinkles. Okay. Well, I've been wondering, burning question today, what exactly is leading to modern writing being absolute trash? Some may say fan fiction, some may say other things. The second story seems to have a pretty interesting idea. Miss Hilary Layne will help us dive into what makes writers bad.
Well,
Other things. Yeah, a nondescript, unknown quantities. Anyway, this is going to be a long video. I'm going to put her up to 1.5 times speed, not because I disrespect her or anything, but... Oh, wait, no, I can't. I need premium for that. Never mind. We're just going to have a long video. So buckle up. We're going to be sitting here.
Get me some coffee to respect her.
Yeah. We're going to be sitting here for a while listening to her explain exactly why modern writing is such trash.
A lack of morality and a lack of realistic.
Probably. People write what they know, and what they know is not reality. Yeah, that tracks. Anyway, this video is the one right here we're going to watch. Please check out the second story. Her stuff is great. If you like Literature Devil, you'll probably like her stuff.
There goes gravity.
There goes gravity.
We.
We indeed. Anyways, let's go.
I don't know how many of you have made a trip to your local bookstore anytime in the last decade, but if you have, then you've probably noticed that writing isn't really what it used to be. What does that mean, you ask? To be clear, what I'm talking about here is prose itself, not the content of the books, not the stories that they're telling, but the prose, the language with which the story is being told, clarity, imagery, flow, the command the writer has of the English language, and so on. Bad prose in modern books takes many forms. The writing itself can be horrendous, but even when it's not, even when the writing isn't actively punching you in the face every other sentence, it all still just kind of...
You gotta get good at it. Audiobooks, even though the prose matters, even for audiobooks.
Reads the same, like the same person wrote it all. If you've ever received a work email sprinkled with emojis, then you might have found yourself scratching your head. Or maybe not. Maybe such occurrences are so commonplace now that you barely notice them. I personally have seen numerous articles online explaining the professional number of emojis one may use in work.
There's a professional number of emojis? Like, you can actually use emojis in a professional setting? Well, I guess if like you're quoting someone's text messages and you're having your story take place in a modern setting, maybe there's a place for emojis. But don't you just usually see bracket, emoji type bracket instead of the actual emoji?
Dear boss,
Dear boss, winky face. Yeah, no, I'm thinking of like if you have a text conversation unfolding in the story and you have omniscient third person perspective, right?
Funnily enough, I think that emoticon.
You mean like the ASCII kind of emotes with the colon close parentheses kind of thing? But I'm just hang on. this
boss.
thing keeps getting so mad that I keep banning all their accounts. By the way, if anyone's watching this and you stream or anything, if you see Stream Hub World, they are a view botter, basically. Ignore them, ban them, get them out of sight. Anyways, continue. Dear boss, yeah. With those. I was thinking more like in terms of books, because if there are emotes that are allowed in books, you're going to have a different paper stock type, or be digital only. Because how many books can convey like the standard emotes from, say, an Apple keyboard or something? You know what I mean? ASCII, they could probably handle those, just the colons and stuff like that. Anyway, the fact that there is an allowance on any emotes at all is kind of shocking to me. I don't know what editors are thinking these days. It's what the kids are doing, so that must be right. Next thing you know, they're going to allow people to write U as just the letter U in books. I think once we hit that point, we're all doomed. We're doomed as like a species. Linguistics is going out the window. When I can start typing in shorthand, oh boy.
Emails, so maybe I'm just behind the curve. If you own a smartphone, chances are you've got a Grammarly keyboard or...
Sorry, I thought you meant like in books. You're saying in work emails. My bad.
OMG, LOL, LML, plus.
Yeah, no, it's all work emails. There's an allowed emote number. If I was a boss to anyone and you send me emotes in emails, you're fired. So unprofessional.
Some other AI typing assistant that automatically double checks your grammar and your wording and suggests alterations.
But what about emoticon?
I want zero in my emails. I just want the information conveyed to me, and that's it. Like, just send me the info that you need me to know. Don't spice it up with any of that garbage. Info. That's what they're for. I don't need to know your feelings on the matter. Now, if it's a text message that's different, or like a Discord message, sure. But if it's an email where you're trying to get key information across, keep it professional, please.
If you've spent any time in contact with the digital world, then chances are you've come across blocks of text that were absolutely written by someone leaning hard on their AI writing assistant, which admittedly isn't quite the same as using AI to write, but it nevertheless presents the same lack of humanity and lack of clarity. And also, more to the point, it presents the same core problem. Call me a Luddite, call me old-fashioned, call me whatever you like, but this strange reliance on machine aid in basic writing is very, very worrying. Not just because we are now apparently living in a world where books written to varying degrees with AI assistants are winning major prestigious literary awards.
I might push back here just a little bit. Editors are expensive. Proofreaders are expensive. AI is considerably cheaper. So don't lean on it too heavily.
AI is cheap.
It is. Now, I'm not saying she's wrong necessarily here, but the argument is more the case of, one, you have to find an editor willing to work with you. Two, you have to make sure they're actually good at what they do. Three, you have to pay them, unless, they're a personal friend or something. And then proofreading stuff, you have to find communities that are actually into the stuff that you're writing, and then they can look through it.
Also, AI uses a ton of M dashes.
Yeah, it does. But what it can do is it can help you find basic like typos and stuff like that. These things happen. If someone types without any typos, that like copy editing for AI would probably be fine. Now, if what she's saying is people are just copy pasting what the AI gives them, yeah, no, that's different. But if you're using the AI like, hey, can you check for coherence? Can you do like this, and this basic stuff just to make sure that you're not locked into stream of consciousness style writing, for example. How's the clarity here? What can I improve on? AI can still be useful. I don't think the pure human era of writing is it's going to be around anymore, just because the price. If it costs money to get into literature, it's probably, like, as a writer, it's probably not a good thing. You want to try to make it as accessible as possible, but also you do need some quality controls. If she would rather me write without any editors or anything like that, I mean, I hope she likes stream of consciousness. Still, I get what she's saying. I think I just there's more nuance here than I think what she's conveying.
Amazon itself has made it quite easy for anybody to without editing.
True.
You can publish your own books, but now with AI,
Fair point.
Maybe that's the problem. Writing and publication.
True.
For quality.
Yeah, well, I'd say like if you're going through, say, a publishing house, usually they're going to have a copy editor and basic editors on staff to help you. But if you're independently publishing through like what is it, KDM or the Kindle Digital Marketplace, I that there's more merit to that than some people say. But there's also just a lot of trash there. People will buy the books if they're cheap enough just to look through them.
Writers should need a license.
I don't know about that. Maybe they should need a license to make money. I think you should be able to publish pretty much whatever you want.
Say, let the free market decide.
Yeah, but that's how you get Morning Glory Milking Farm.
And ban smut.
I think it'd be better to isolate it to very, very specific areas. But regardless.
Ban immoral things.
Good grief.
Burn it all.
Oh, boy.
Make it illegal.
Well, I'd say make it free. Make it to where you can't make money off of it. Get rid of the profit incentive.
You don't have a right to one.
What was in that McDonald's you ate?
If it ain't right, it ain't a right.
Okay. I'll let the comments decide what AI Trump is doing.
Welp, that's most of Taylor's life.
Oh. Anyways, moving right along.
but mainly because this over-reliance on technology actually indicates that some kind of deficit already exists.
Hold on. Let him cook.
What? Oh, I mean, let's not cook too long on this. We need to resume the video, otherwise it's going to be like 2 hours. I'd rather let's keep it moving.
Existed, which created a need for these artificial aids. That's something I want to make very clear. AI writing is absolutely killing aspiring writers' ability to put together stories and prose on their own. But there's a reason people immediately found AI assistance so tempting and appealing. The problem with writing already existed. AI just offered an artificial solution. There's a reason people are leaning so hard on their Grammarly keyboards. There's a reason people go straight to ChatGPT when they want to write a novel or a poem.
I don't know about poems. I find ChatGPT doesn't do those very well. Am I using AI weird when I do my writing? I mostly just ask it, hey, how's the coherence here? What are like some typos you found? What?
I say write it first and the ChatGPT. That's what I do.
Or how do I develop this scene? Or where am I telling and not showing? Stuff like that. Maybe I'm the weird one. Do people really just give an outline to the story and just say, hey, write a novel, please? Novel piece. I want you to write me a whole novel with this outline. I mean, at that point, you're just making ChatGPT your ghostwriter, right? I don't think ghostwriters are nearly as expensive as...
I don't think give an outline.
Oh, you think they just give like a premise? A premise and a few lines? Oh man, that'd be... Don't know how I feel about that. Write me a...
They're just like, write me a fantasy.
Oh no. I mean, people complain about AI art and how it's eliminating jobs, but has anyone thought about AI fiction? My goodness. Like ChatGPT and Grok and stuff like that, they're great for helping like flesh out character sheets. Like, hey, what if I add this to the character? How would that affect their backstory and stuff like that? Or help me try to see a more full picture of this character. Here's what I've got in mind for them. What do you got? And then they'll feed back this stuff, and you'll be like, I don't like that, and let's adjust this, and this. Or here's the lore of this world. What would be the greater implication of that lore, and how would it affect laws?
I usually use ChatGPT. I tell it to be blunt and honest. Also, I've made it very Christian all up.
Okay. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, I know I get derailed easily, but please don't try to do it on purpose. The point I'm making is really, it can be a useful tool. You just have to know how to use it. Maybe I'm the weird one here. That's always a possibility.
Titty spring.
Yeah, I think that you should use it as a tool, not a crutch.
Yeah. Moving on.
Or a sweet text to the girlfriend. Okay, there are a lot of reasons, but a big, huge commonality in all these reasons is this. People no longer know how to write. And even when they try, even when we give them awards for doing so well, arguably, they cannot write well. Not anymore. Writing well is a dying art. My question is, why?
A good question. All right. We have the most inarticulate generation of college students in our history, and this may well account for their mass outbreaks of violence.
It's because people aren't taught how to...
Probably. They have no more intelligent way to express themselves. Pulitzer Prize winning poet Carl Shapiro. Okay. 1970.
If you want to figure out why people can't write well, can't express, or...
Wait, this issue goes back to the 70s? Makes a lot of sense, actually.
Articulate themselves anymore, you have to go all the way back. The first wave of damage that has been done to the minds of would-be writers occurred in elementary school.
Yeah, the 70s were wacky.
I think that's when the feminization of the United States started. Like, the true feminization of the United States, not just the suffrage movement.
I would assume that very few writers starting out these days learn to read using phonics. Although you do see phonics implemented a little more these days, but never exclusively and never without the added damaging hindrances of whole language, which we'll get into in a little bit here. But even if Gen X and the millennials did eventually learn how to read, studies have shown that readers who learned using word association or whole language have less reading comprehension than those who learned using phonics. Again, give me a second, I'll talk about studies and sources in just a minute. Most casual readers...
Wait, was Hooked on Phonics objectively the best way to learn?
It tracks.
Baseball. Yeah, baseball.
Yes.
Yep. Hooked on Phonics. B, B.
Baseball. Huh?
The what was I saying? Yeah, no.
But seriously, people learn through modules.
Well, yeah. whole language learning just doesn't seem like a good idea. I don't think it was ever a particularly good idea. But that's where we are. I still can't spell, like, especially words that are rooted in French or Latin. I could do well with Greek and Germanic, weirdly
Like
enough.
with math, we learned why multiplication works. 7 times 7 is 7 times.
Yeah, but that's just quantitative reasoning. Anyone could do that. It's counting. It's counting by different intervals. That's all it is. Anyway, whatever I was saying. Oh yeah, Hooked on Phonics was objectively better. And I think in the Think Before You Sleep video.
Memorize it. 49.
It's really hard. Whole word learning.
I'm so glad it went with that. But yeah, it doesn't seem like a very smart way to teach someone language. The whole word learning, word association. I think that works for primitive languages like Unga Bunga and Bunga Wunga Chunga, but not for anything that expresses complex ideas. Anyway.
I come across in my daily life don't know grammar. They don't know what it means to diagram a sentence. They don't know what it means.
Learning phonics first is like learning addition. Learning words first is like memorizing the times without knowing.
Yeah, I actually think that this is weirdly a good argument for keeping calculus in high school.
Open to my and retard.
Sounds like you didn't type it out. Anyway, yeah, so this is actually kind of an argument for keeping calculus in high school just because it sort of teaches you how to use first principles thinking where no other class really does that. Not even algebra. They all rely on memorization. You really can't do that for calculus. Anyway.
Means to conjugate a verb or identify noun and verb agreement. Most people these days don't know how to spell. How many times have you seen those posts of girls talking about how much they love the smell of their boyfriend?
Someone on the bus has too much colon. That must have been one gnarly fart, yo. Cologne.
Cologne?
Yeah, cologne, I think is what they meant. When you spray his colon. Oh, no. Oh, man. In all fairness, cologne, I think, is French. And French words are not fun. But is it too much to, like, look it up?
Okay, cologne is hard to spell.
Yeah.
His colon is spraying. Oh, no.
Oh, my word. Yeah, but then you see, like, pregnant. And you get people typing in, like, pergnant or pargnant or pregnart. Stuff like that.
Colon. We've reached a point now where it's deemed elitist to know which...
It's deemed elitist to...
Colon. We've reached a point now where it's deemed elitist.
David, when you took the training about engaging with public via social media, when they got to the pretend you're a human man part, they didn't mean mock people with bad spelling. That's very elitist, and the angry peasants don't like that. That's sarcasm. It seems like they're kind of backing up on that.
Elitist to know...
Not addressing your rant because I don't know what you're talking about.
Subjective is another spelling.
Yeah, probably. I try to spell correctly. I at least look it up if I don't know.
Like,
apparently that puts me ahead of the curve.
Always argument.
That's a non-argument though. It's like language is always changing. Well, by that logic, nothing you say ever matters anyway, so why should I listen to you?
I know.
Right, not addressing your rant because I don't know what you're talking about, but you obviously categorize folks that make random grammar mistakes, as we all do, as less capable. You, sir, are an elitist. What? You didn't put the comma in there.
Which there or...
Him not him a Nazi. A grammar Nazi.
Yep, we're getting suppressed. Oh boy. As soon as someone corrects grammar, I know they're 95 IQ at best. The midwit idea of being smart is proper grammar and something else because low IQ school system told them so. And obviously they're too dumb to question it. Real smart people don't give an F about grammar. As long as their idea is conveyed, it doesn't matter if you use their... Not even professional writers care about grammar anymore. That's what editors are for. Oh, no.
Well, come on. That's when a meme was born.
I know, but YouTube be YouTube sometimes. Wish PPL would realize poor spelling, ampersands, and grammar have nothing to do with intelligence at all. It doesn't bar
Grammar
people from...
Nazi should suppress any...
Yeah, well, it's YouTube. The doublespeak is the culture on YouTube, unfortunately. Has nothing to do with intelligence at all. It doesn't bar people from higher level thinking whatsoever. And it is just classes. Okay, at least use proper it's. Who TF cares if someone says there instead of there? Honestly. Well, there is a collect... collective pronoun referring to as a possessive collective, meaning a group of people have something, and there is location. These are different words. That's why we care. It's clarity.
Your is the right one to use.
I think being elitist over grammar is a personality trait and not a great one. Language is about communicating a thought. If you know what the is being said, I really can't imagine any reason to nitpick at people other than being a dickhead. Okay. Yeah, no, these people need to take philosophy because clarity is super important there. They also need to, like, I don't know, learn math, maybe take a couple engineering courses and understand why you need to be very specific.
And thinking less makes me happy.
Yeah, clarity, transparency and clarity. Like, these things are important in communications. If you aren't clear, then people are going to misunderstand. Or sometimes when you're too clear and people aren't used to that level of clarity, they think you're being mean or something. I don't know. Anyway, I don't understand this mindset. Maybe it's because of an engineering background. Who knows?
I don't have to scrounge my brain to understand what you are when you are being.
Yeah, I mean, Japanese is kind of the opposite, though. It's all context clues, especially in casual conversation.
In a given context. Forget current year education, which I'm sure is atrocious. Even when I was in school, they had abandoned this focus in education. In place of what? I don't know. In the 2 years I was in public school, all we did was watch movies, learn about drugs, and glue small pieces of paper to larger. In 4th grade, they also learned how to put condoms on bananas. I'm not sure why 4th graders would need to know how to use condoms, but that's a subject for another day. My father had to teach me how to read himself using Hooked on Phonics in the summer between 1st and 2nd grade.
Hooked on Phonics.
Around the time my father figured out how ludicrous and pointless school had become, he pulled me out and homeschooled. I managed to achieve a pretty high reading level pretty quickly by nothing more than a little spiteful tenacity and my father's hard work. We definitely need to avoid meaningless excuses like privilege and elitism. Oppression and elitism is not why I couldn't read in the 2nd grade. Privilege is not why I graduated from high school 10 years later with a 4.0 GPA. My family was not wealthy and had to work all the time like everyone else's families, and yet with some help, I still managed to figure out how to read and how to identify parts of speech. So instead of talking about privilege and victimhood, let's talk about facts. I know some of you hate that word, but I'm sure you can cope. So here are some nice, light facts to start with. The question is, why can't anyone write well anymore? There are a lot of reasons behind this, but we're going to focus our attention today on what is by far the biggest: education and critical literacy. Okay, first of all, I know how much you all love sources, and for today's topic, I'll concede. This data isn't all widely known. Therefore, I've compiled a huge list of sources, explaining the literacy controversy, explaining the superiority of phonics, and also, if you're interested, how, billionaire industrialists and also the actual government, if you'll pardon my tin hat, deliberately undermined the education system.
Oh, okay. I think I know. I think she's beating around the bush here a bit, but the goal of the education system was not to make a smarter workforce. It was always to make a more compliant workforce. I think it's the, what was it? The Prussian school model? Bells and stuff like that, set schedules and all that. Education was never really the goal. It was to make you conform to whatever the employers wanted you to be as low-skill laborers. This is why they don't teach you things like taxes and stuff. I get why people would say, like, oh yeah, school should teach you taxes and all this kind of stuff. Who invented education? Great question. I have no idea. It's probably just depends on what you mean by education, actually. Transfer of knowledge is as old as humanity, I think.
Education was made by God.
If you mean education in the sense of transfer of knowledge, then yeah. But if you mean education as far as like the institution goes, I don't know. I know that the Prussian school model was, what was his name?
He taught Adam not to eat forbidden
and messed up by man.
And like every dumb he did it.
Yeah. Knowledge transfer. That's usually what I think of education. But yeah, the Prussian school model was never about helping people think critically or expand their knowledge base. It was always about instilling compliance. So all of this is for a compliant workforce, not to teach anyone anything useful. Believe it or not, arithmetic is one of the oldest things that have been taught. I think since the numeric system was invented, that was one of the first things that was always taught. But then you have people learning math as far back as Pythagoras in ancient Greece. And I'm going on a tangent here. As a technical term, yeah. Well, that's like universities and colleges and stuff like that. Get knowledge acquisition is distinct from education, but by that logic, being educated does not necessarily make you smart.
I like those isekai where the Macy can get far with just his algebraic knowledge because everyone.
Well, yeah, if you have strong logic, though, you can figure out algebra. Oh man, I can't remember his name. The guy who brought the Prussian school model to the U.S. Oh man, what was his name? It's gonna bother me. I guess would people consider Sir Isaac Newton educated? Horace Mann.
Horace Mann.
Yep, that's it. Horace Mann. That guy. He did irreparable damage to the American school system by doing that. The bells and the factory sort of mindset was instilled. The old Greek model, it was like forums, open debate, stuff like that. The language also had much more of a philosophical lilt to it, so you'd be kind of debating everything with every word. Sorry, my mind will wander quite a lot. Horseman. No, Horseman. Centaur made education. As far as I understand, you learned most of what you would need from your parents, and then they taught you how to do the job that you had at the time.
Cook. And
from there, if you wanted to pursue philosophy or deeper thought, you would go to the forums. A lot of arguing. Oh boy, that's
milking.
Very degenerate education right there. Anyway, let's let her continue before I get derailed too much.
Of America over 100 years ago. I put all this together on my website. There's a link in the description.
Bunch of sources.
When I first heard the term critical literacy, I was foolish enough to assume that it meant literacy that involved the ability to think critically.
Critical literacy. Is this, I think in the Think Before You Sleep video where he was explaining what she was talking about, he kind of gave us an insight into that. Is this what happens when critical theory meets educational standards? Because man, and you can't identify reality with critical theory because it questions everything in a way that's not really helpful or useful, doesn't seek clarity, and it's much more of a way to sort of force the power dynamic which you're looking into. It's politically motivated, but at the same time just really, really dumb.
Yep. Also, I think critical be addressed rather than take definition.
That might be something I can look up real quick. All right, what is the basis of critical theory? Critical theory is Frankfurt School.
So, like, they think what needs to be addressed is the white people owning everything IT.
I don't know. Critical theory, we'll use Wikipedia here since it's basically edited and defined by leftists, so they would probably understand this. Critical theory is a social, historical, political school of thought and philosophical perspective which centers on analyzing and challenging systemic power relations in society, arguing that knowledge... Yeah, I know. Knowledge, truth, and social structures are fundamentally shaped by power dynamics between dominant press groups. Beyond just understanding and critiquing these dynamics, it explicitly aims to transform society through praxis and collective action with explicit socio-political purpose. Okay, yeah. So if critical literacy is a offshoot of critical theory, it is just praxis. Got it.
It's about moist critical.
And we're moving on.
And to analyze the meaning of the text by one's own power. Turns out, I was wrong. Critical literacy is defined as learning to read and write as part of the process of becoming conscious of one's experience as historically constructed within specific power relations. Critical literacy moves the reader's focus away from the self in critical reading to the interpretation of texts in different environmental and...
Okay, this is pure praxis. Praxis, by the way, I'm going to use the Wikipedia definition. It's a Marxist term. The word praxis from the ancient Greek, praxis, and the Romanized praxis. Ancient Greek praxis referred to the activity by engaging free people, referred to actively engaged in by free people. What? The philosopher Aristotle held that there were three basic activities of humans: theora, theosis, and praxis. So it'd be the doing. Right. Got it. Oh, sorry. TTS is for mods only. I'm a little paranoid about that. Sorry. I'll get it up and running one day for everyone else.
You silly boy.
I don't trust strangers with a TTS currently. Maybe I can grant someone VIP status to give that to. I do trust you. despite what you say. Anyway, yeah. So this looks just like Praxis, sort of implementing. Maybe the intonation probably would have been wrong though.
You're a home skip, lol.
Yeah. So Praxis, communist gobbledygook, basically a way to corrupt the youth and really, really just make people dumber. My goodness, the leftward drift, terrible.
Cultural context. Further, critical literacy provides opportunities for readers to determine their
Unhinged,
ability to discern
but
the
I'm
purpose
trusted in
of
my
texts
unhinged.
and also their ability to identify ideologies presented in the texts. As they read, individuals can accept, reject, or reconstruct the ideologies presented in the text to support their own life.
Oh, I hate this. Oh, I hate this conceptually. This means like reading tragedies, you now have to identify with them based on this. So, that's not good. Oh, that's not good at all. Can you imagine if you had to identify with the hero of No Country for Old Men? You have two choices: the guy who finds the gold, or Anton Chigurh.
It's empathy, reading, logic.
Empathy plus reading minus logic. Yeah, that's how it feels for sure.
Is that why women love Christ?
I have no idea, but it doesn't make sense to me. Now every work of fiction has to support your own life experience. You know, that actually does explain why so many villains these days are gimped. They'll be all like, I have this dastardly plot to take over the world, but I will always use the right pronouns that people prefer. Okay. Right. So your villain can plot like literal world domination,
Yeah, that's silly.
but he better not mess up the pronouns. My word. From my perspective, right? Your villain should kind of be an antithesis of what you see as good. Usually, I don't know. People like an empathetic villain, but I don't know. Let's look at Doflamingo real quick from One Piece. You know his backstory. It's tragic, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but they don't
And then
believe in
initiate the apocalypse. Feels like it. But it doesn't matter how tragic his backstory is, the way he turned out is still terrible. You don't have to empathize with him.
Isn't that true evil to lie to, even if it's support to?
Especially if it's to support delusions. But yeah, so you've got a character like Doflamingo, tragic backstory, but you ultimately still can easily dislike him.
I'm going to call you it if I can't tell if you're or a woman.
Okay. All right. Your pronoun is it's. Oh boy. That's going to make people so mad. Moving right along.
Experiences.
am I a man or am I a Muppet?
Ooh. And she's struggling with this too.
We're not going to dig into this yet, but I want you to keep these definitions in mind as we proceed. Critical literacy, as it is called, and as I have just defined, is the new literacy. Begun in spirit by Paulo Freire, and then more solidly presented by Ira Shore in his 1980 book, Critical Teaching in Everyday Life, critical literacy aims to teach not literacy, but rather a kind of social awareness, which was using teaching reading as a delivery method of sorts, as
Praxis.
if reading was just the syringe, and this right kind of social awareness was the real thing they wanted the child to receive. Let me show you one quote from this book that should pretty adequately illustrate critical literacy in action. Prior to scheduling classes, Freirean educators study the life and language of their perspectives. These sociological inquiries permit them to discover a small number of keywords from daily life called generative words, which will be used for both problematizing experience and for literacy teaching. The generative words like brick, rice, slum, or wealth suggest social themes around which consciousness can then be raised.
Well, I think I already broke down why I have issues with this in another video. Go look up that video if you want, but I still don't like this. My goodness. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand like how I'm supposed to feel about any of those words.
Suggest social themes around which consciousness can then be raised. The concept of critical literacy then infected
If they have to be told what to think to me.
Yeah.
the education world. Within 2 decades, it had been adopted by the US government as an aspect of ESL programs. By the 90s, it had quickly but completely become the new literacy.
Okay, hang on. So in ESL programs, English as a second language, this was what they were using? No wonder integration fell apart. My goodness. That's not useful. Not useful, nor is it good. How did this get implemented? Who allowed it? I guess if it was the 90s, so it'd be Bill Clinton. Or HW.
Perhaps that was
Yeah. I mean, divide and conquer, right? Yeah, my goodness.
I have a couple quotes from Shore's book and the list of links on my website. If you're curious as to just how disturbing this is, have a read. When people in modern academic and education circles talk about literate kids or teaching literacy, this critical literacy is, to them, the ultimate sign of success. If they can produce a critically literate adult, then they've done their job. Before we get too deep into the effects of critical literacy, which is an extremely crucial aspect of the topic at hand, why no one can write anymore, we should first try to define actual literacy. That is, the ability to read, which of course is the twin brother of the ability to write. We also need to look at the way actual literacy has entered a sharp, alarming decline, which is, and I'll demonstrate this, directly linked to the implementation of critical literacy. That is, actual literacy began to decline when critical literacy became the goal. Defining literacy is a hot topic in education, so it's divisive and somehow controversial. Even putting aside the jargon...
How? How is defining literacy controversial? Isn't it just learning how to read and write? Like, learning how to read. My goodness.
If you can read, you're literate, yes?
We're only literate in a barbarian language. We only speak in Unga Bunga or Star Wars speak. English is just too hard for everyone. If you can read, you're literate. Yeah, that's what I thought too. And usually writing and reading are so closely linked that there's really no... well, once you can read, writing becomes a lot easier. Let's put it like that. Yeah. English is a barbarian language. Honestly, yeah, it's a developed trade language based off of barbarian language, Germanic roots. So yeah. Anyway.
Heavy newspeak of critical literacy, the assessment of adults' ability to actually read text on a page or screen is a hot-button issue, which isn't hard to understand. As literacy rates in America drop, everyone's first honest instinct is, well, there must be something wrong with the quality of the education. I mean, education tends to reply with various bizarrely worded definitions of literacy as if to say, no, literacy is not in decline. What you're talking about isn't literacy. And then people start arguing about that, and then the whole issue becomes a pointless shouting match. So, before we get into the rest of it, I want to attempt to talk about what literacy even means. I mean, a definition we can all agree on so that as we talk about this issue, we can all be on the same page, so to speak. Let's put aside all the jargon-heavy definitions that get thrown around by all the players. Instead, let's look...
redefining very leftist tactic.
This is true. People don't like having set problems and understandings because if they do, that means we have to confront them head on and we can't just kind of avoid the issue. Oh well, that's just how it goes.
Look at the Program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies, PIAAC. Literacy is accessing, understanding, evaluating, and reflecting on written texts in order to achieve one's goals, to develop one's knowledge and potential, and to participate in society. This is still pretty jargon.
Participate in society? What? You mean like tell the police what happened to you? Is that a part of literacy? Yeah, let's... Accessing, understanding, evaluating, reflecting on written text in order to achieve one's goals, develop one's knowledge and potential.
I don't need to read to participate in...
Yeah, maybe they mean like reading ballots?
I also don't need to participate in society.
I'm going to bed.
Okay, good night. I'm just a little confused by this definition. Kind of feels muddy to me. Achieve one's goals, to develop one's knowledge and potential. So like learning from text, I guess?
Jen Knight, Una.
Knowledge and potential,
Knowledge and potential, and to participate in society. This is still pretty jargon heavy, but I think we can manage. I do appreciate that they're at least extremely clear about what they mean by all these individual words. Personally, I greatly dislike this odd word accessing here. To my mind, one's ability to access written text is reading.
Yeah.
They made reading. But there is more to it, as you can see down here. Not just able to comprehend the text they are faced with, they can also reach out to texts that are relevant to their purposes and search passages of interest within those texts.
Be able to look stuff up.
Basically, then, access here means the ability not just to read texts, but also to know where to go and how to find texts on various topics. I would agree that that's another layer of illiteracy, especially for adults. One that is crucial to actual, authentic, critical thinking, not...
So, like... Being able to go to the library and find an encyclopedia volume is a part of literacy, I guess.
Reading and fair enough.
Yeah. Or being able to find the source that was offered. I didn't think that was like a hard skill. People really struggle with that?
weirdo critical literacy, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. Nowadays, assessments such as the PIAAC also evaluate a person's ability to read and comprehend text while being inundated with peripheral distraction. That's certainly relevant, I think we can all agree. So what we're looking at here is how the PIAAC's assessments have proven that literacy, as they have defined it, is in sharp decline. This is important to establish. Actual real literacy is decaying in this country. That's a huge, huge factor in a writer's ability to write. So the PIAAC studies literacy in adults across a number of areas and using a number of factors to gauge their assessments. This is a lot of data and not really the sole focus of this video, so I'll include these links with the rest. The bottom line is that the PIAAC assesses literacy at 4 levels, with the first level being a kind of kindergarten literacy that struggles with anything more complex than the instructions in the back of the mac and cheese box, and certainly can't handle peripheral distractions.
I need absolute focus to make my Easy Mac. If I don't have my focus in my pictures of Buddha, I can't make the Easy Mac. That's what I'm thinking right now. How many people forget to put the butter into the Easy Mac? Oh my goodness.
No picture. Oh no.
Good grief. Oh man, this is proving that leftism actually makes you dumber. Like, this is crazy. Crazy. Praxis. Praxis makes you dumber. My word. My word.
According to the
It's a
PIAAC,
feature.
over 25%
It is a feature.
of adults in America score at or below level 1 literacy. Go ahead and rewind that if you need to, but let me say that one more time. Over
I don't need to rewind it, but man.
25% of American adults cannot read above kindergarten literacy, and that number is growing. But
So wait. If there's no pictures in the book, they struggle? Is that what I'm hearing? No wonder, like, okay.
Wowee.
Comics have taken a nosedive in storytelling quality. Like, I don't think anyone's going to contest that. They are bad.
I am around level 1 literacy in Japanese.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm wondering if, like, the modern comic writers read the stories but didn't, like, actually read. They just went through the pictures of older things and said, this is how it makes me feel and this is how I want it to actually be. So let's completely disrespect canon and undermine the legacy of these characters to make them lame, weak, and gay. Because that's what that sounds like to me. I genuinely think that there might be a causal link there. Oh boy. Yeah, if that's the case. My goodness.
I mean, that's how Ryan Johnson, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
I want him to be grumpy.
You could have made him a little grumpy, but still kept him true to the character. But anyway, let's continue.
Because
let's look at level
old
2.
People are grumpy.
This level
Yeah.
is important to our discussion because based on my own assessment, most published authors today are probably at this level. Level 2 literate adults can handle some limited distraction. They can read slightly longer text, even if it's across multiple paragraphs or even multiple pages. If it's simple text, they can also put together an interpretation of meaning, and they can connect the text on one page with the text on another. I personally would call this 3rd or 4th grade literacy.
Wait. I need to pause here first. So level 1 means you can't connect what happened on page 1 to page 2. How do you read, like, magazines? Is this why people only read headlines? My goodness. Yeah, no wonder everything's...
That's a quarter of adults.
Yeah. That's... Wow. Okay.
This group makes up about 29% of the population. Combined with level 1, these two groups account for almost 60% of American adults. Over half of American adults cannot read above a basic 3rd or 4th grade level and can only analyze what they've read in a limited sense, while also being extremely vulnerable to distraction. All right, that's all very, very interesting, and this data is quite fascinating.
I wonder what they mean by, like, distractions. They mean... So maybe I'm at level 2 because if I get distracted, I have to go back and reread. But I can still...
These people can vote.
Yeah, but I can still finish the book eventually. It just... Sometimes I need to go back and reread things. I don't know. It depends on how engaged I am with the book, too. And the story. And if I have an audiobook playing, I can comprehend that a bit better.
You're above a 2.
I have no idea. I would have to, like, ask them or take an assessment objectively because I don't know.
To dig into if you've got the time, but what does the literacy...
Are you dyslexic?
I am dyslexic. The distraction of a word or maybe a singular idea in a bigger picture. So, like, focusing on the tree instead of the forest. Can't see the forest through the trees kind of thing. I guess. So that means like hyperfixating on one point. It's like, yes, this one subplot really grabbed my attention, but the main plot was completely lost on me. I don't know.
Kind of. It's more like they see 6 or 7 will distract them.
I guess. Maybe it's a word I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on there, but good luck with that.
Level of the average American adult have to do with one's ability to write good prose. I mean, obviously there's a...
With what I just wrote, they 6, 7 and go wide.
Women.
Yeah. Okay. So they would see the meme instead of the actual point of what you're saying. Thanks for the follow this week, Galactic. We are currently recording this for YouTube, so hope you like the idea of seeing your chat in YouTube video.
Distracted by the meme.
Yeah, completely derailed by it. Oh, it's like if someone sees a word that they know that sounds smart or big, they'd be like, oh, I know that word.
So a higher person.
Yeah, or just chuckle to themselves and move on. Okay, I can kind of see that. Let's see what level three entails.
Connection, obviously, but how specifically does all of this start to fit together? Surely, you might ask, these level 2 and slightly higher adults are not the ones out here winning Pulitzer Prizes. I mean, surely. To answer, I want to first talk about this study from just last year, 2024. They don't read very well, a study of the reading comprehension skills of English majors at 2 Midwestern universities. This highly talked about study wasn't just assessing the literacy of the average American, but of the average English literature major at 2 widely respected state universities. I won't get into all the details of this, but just so you understand what we're talking about, the study participants were instructed to read the first 7 paragraphs of Bleak House by Charles Dickens, a dense, beautiful section of descriptive prose, and then translate what they read into modern language, thereby demonstrating their understanding of the text. What they found was that 58% of the study's participants were at about level 1 literacy or slightly higher, which the study categorizes as problematic. They also...
I wonder if Bleak House is on Project Gutenberg. Let me see if I can find it. This is just the opening paragraph. By the way, if you want classic literature, Project Gutenberg is the place to go. If it's public domain, it's there. I just want to see.
Yeah, I want to do. Haha.
Okay. Well, here it is. Bleak House. So the preface: the Chancery Judge once had a kindness to inform me. As one. Okay, that's not what they were doing. London, Michaelmas term late. London, Michaelmas term lately over, and the Lord Chancellor sitting in Lincoln's Inn Hall. Implacable November weather. Okay, as much mud in the streets. It's basically just kind of describing the scene as it is. Very wet, kind of muggy. But you're allowed to like look stuff up if you don't know it, right? It's dense, sure, but I don't think it's like impossible to understand. Fog everywhere, fog up the river where it flows among green heights.
Yeah, I think they were, but with context, you can probably.
Yeah, but like, how hard is it to just type a word into Google? Type in that word definition. Go AIT at 8. A little island. Okay. Among the green islands and meadows, fog down the river, where like a sandbar, I guess. Small island. Fog down the river where it rolls defiled among the ocean of the great and dirty city. Okay, so this is like industrialized London scene. You've got the smog mixing with the fog. Fair enough. I can understand that much. Fog on the Essex marshes, fog on the Kentish Heights. Essex is a location in London. Kent is also a location in London. Just very, very foggy. That's what I'm getting here. Fog creeping into the cabooses, the coiler brigs. I mean, I might fail this one just because I'd write it really, really short, you know? You know what I mean? It would be just a very brief summary of each paragraph so far. I'm kind of skimming here. Okay, I might actually end up reading this whole book if I keep this up. All right. Anyway.
Also summarized the major traits that made these readers problematic. They understood so little of the introduction to Bleak House that they would not be able to read the novel on their own. However, these same subjects also believed they would have no problem reading the rest of the 900-page novel. Problematic readers often described their reading process as skimming and/or relying on spark notes. I highly encourage...
I mean, I skimmed as a way to kind of preview. I didn't claim to understand the full thing. It was a descriptive scene. If you want me to rewrite it into modern terms, it's going to be a little different,
Well, at
though.
least they admitted it.
Yeah, I didn't even use Spark Notes. I was just skimming to see like what exactly is going on. Also for time constraint reasons. That's another question. How long did they have to do this?
Anyone to read the rest of this study. It's very readable and presents some very unsettling facts without an ounce of bias. We'll come back to this study a little later. For now, just remember, 58% of these English literature majors who will go on to become English teachers at all grade levels or who will also potentially be writing their own novels cannot even comprehend the opening pages of Bleak House. Worse than that, however, they don't even realize that they don't understand it. They think they're doing just fine. They think they've understood it.
For the muddy street description, I would say there was so much mud on the streets, surprising walking.
I would probably just ask if the assignment means like, can I be as terse as I need to get the main points across? Because it's very not alliterative, evocative. Alliteration is more of a poetry thing. It's very evocative, evokes an image. But
it was really fun to read.
Yeah, that's Charles Dickens in a nutshell, though. If you read the original Christmas Carol, that comes to mind. Tale of Two Cities. Oh. But yeah, it's really describing like the weather and the setting. Kind of very London. Anywho, moving on.
Just fine. Or weirdly, that it doesn't really seem to matter to them that they don't understand it that well. Closely related to this study is this article from The Atlantic. The author spoke to a number of university professors and several students and found that professors have had to adjust their expectations of their students. English lit majors can no longer be expected to read whole assigned books, but have to content themselves with assigned passages of books. Several of these college students, these young adults, have arrived on campus unaware that reading whole books would be required of them. Several told their teachers that they didn't know how to read a whole book.
Big oomph with wrists when I don't know how to read a book. I'm kind of struggling to comprehend this one, right?
Do they not read books?
Or magazines, or articles, or anything? How could someone not know how to read a whole book? This one might be one for the AI. Like, Grok, help. Explain this to me. Help me, Grok. Oh, man. How can a student not know how to read a book?
One word at a time, right?
How? Yeah, no, I don't understand. Please help me. It's surprisingly common for students, even at elite colleges, to struggle with reading a full book, not because they can't decode words, true illiteracy, but because they lack the stamina, focus, or practice to engage with long-form text or from cover to cover. Professors at top schools at Columbia, Georgetown report that many incoming students are overwhelmed by the idea of completing multiple books per semester, or even a single dense novel. One Columbia literature professor noted students seeming bewildered by the reading load, with some admitting they had never read an entire book in high school, only excerpts, articles, and poetry. I mean, it's a great way to fall asleep, and honestly, there are alternatives. You can use audiobooks. If I don't have time or the wherewithal to sit down and read, I can use an audiobook. Just sit down and listen.
It's not that tiresome.
Depends on the book. Some are really, really dense, but I had to use an audiobook for No Country for Old Men. I wish I could find an excerpt from it to show you why, but it's really close to the movie, which is great. I watched the movie afterwards. Very good movie, but let me see if I can find it. We'll see if it's on Kindle as original formatting because they have a rewrite version. Vintage International. Okay. Do we have sample, please?
I didn't like how anticlimactic the ending was.
It wasn't really about the hero. It was about the villain. Yeah, so no quotation marks throughout the entire book, and it became hard for me to track who was talking, which was apparently a feature of this. I criticized that in my book report on it, but yeah, so you see this? Good luck parsing who's talking. That's what I'm talking about. No quotation marks, nothing. Like pure stream of consciousness, like you're telling it to a child directly from your mouth. So that was my criticism of that. Anyway, moving on.
Let that sink in for a moment. I want you to remember that one.
Never finished a book in your life.
In order to read a book, logic tells you that you read one word after another until there are no more words.
Yes.
Bam, you've read a book. But these students seem to think that reading a whole book is some special knowledge that they never received, a specific procedure that no one taught them. Remember that.
Paging Dr. Literacy. I don't know how to digest one word at a time. I need a special operation. Please help. What? Why? Why are people like this? How are they letting this stand? Like, did they never like read Captain Underpants for fun? That's. What about the book fairs? No, man.
As we continue on here. So we've probably pretty well established that literacy, as you and I and the PIAAC understand it, is so far in the toilet that it might not be salvageable in a single generation. Now,
Nope.
What about this elusive thing that came in to replace it, this critical literacy? This teaching manual for whole language from 1996 reads like one of those bizarre, esoteric, yet highly specific occult self-help manuals. It talks about the social aspect of language and other similarly Orwellian hot words instead of actually learning how to figure out what the words on the page.
It just dawned on me. This explains Vouch. Oh no. Okay.
One of the beginning strategies for
I mean, I guess people don't like feeling uncomfortable not knowing what words mean. So if they don't know context clues, they get frustrated.
I mean, there's a dictionary right there. What you do is you just mark the page you're on, or if you got a pencil, just underline the word you paused at. Go look it up in the dictionary. Come back, reread the sentence with the word in it, and then move on. How is this difficult? Seriously.
Literacy with whole language, according to this manual, is the use of generative themes. You remember that one? Which all boils down to the most important thing about reading is learning the correct way to interpret a text, which, by the way, has nothing to do with the author's intent and is heavily reliant on your feelings. I mean, think about how so many people these days latch on
but
to.
If every has 3 or 4 of those, it's hard. They should learn phonics and word deconstruction. Be better.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, but if you have to do it the dictionary way, do it the dictionary way. I mean, root words. I'm trying to think of like one where something comes up and people are like, "Oh, okay." I struggle to think of one off the top of my head. Maybe like converse. If you see converse.
Well, in the Dickens elephant,
So large.
the root word is
Large, imposing, big. That's what comes to mind. Like an elephant.
so like an elephant.
Scared of mice and never forgets. I would have to see it in context. Like, just by itself, elephantine. I'm assuming it meant large. But yeah, elephantine lizard. Okay.
An elephantine lizard as large as.
Or akin to an elephant. Yeah, I get it. But, what? Anyway, I forgot what I was thinking. Moving on.
Specific words and then spin out because.
Even look it up. It's all context clues.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if they had to use a dictionary, they had the option to.
Those words trigger them in some way. That's because those words are generative words, which fit into generative themes, which are taught to them in a way specifically intended to trigger their emotional analysis. These people can't listen to reason at that point.
So they have to be emotional. They can't use logic. And that's by design. Really? Wow.
They see the word and the programmed reaction is triggered, and that's it. That's what critical literacy produces, specifically and intentionally. As is evident in their own proudly stated definitions, the entire function of critical literacy is to teach children not how to read text, but how to analyze them, or more precisely, how to analyze them correctly. That's an incredibly important distinction. Most children are taught to analyze text before they're even taught how to spell words. Many children are never taught to spell words, they're just taught to analyze them. This concept, critical literacy, was the ultimate, final, ugly goal of a very long, arduous war that was waged specifically on phonics. Although, of course, phonics was only one battlefield in that war. The whole debate between phonics-based reading education and so-called whole language, which was the first form and forefather of critical literacy, is an ongoing, unresolved matter in the education community, sometimes called the reading wars. There is a lot of unresolved matter in the education community, sometimes called.
It's time to stop debating how we teach kids to read and follow the evidence. By Emily Shawn, Science New, April 2020. Science New, April 26, 2020. Okay. The debate is often called the reading wars, generally framed as a battle between two distinct views. One side, those who advocate for intensive emphasis on phonics, understanding the relationships between sounds and letters, and the other daily lessons that build on each other in systemic order. On the other side, with daily lessons that build... Okay, yeah. And on the other side are proponents of approaches that but stronger emphasis on the understanding of meaning with some sporadic phonics mixed in. Balanced literacy is one such example. Why can't we just do pure phonics? It's a kind of long-term investment versus short-term investment kind of thinking, right?
Called the reading wars. There is a lot of research that insists it makes
Pure
no
phonics works.
It does. Anyway.
difference how you go about teaching to read. There is a lot of research pointing out that there is a marked superiority in reading comprehension and a whole host of other literacy skills when a child is taught using phonics. One of the many lines of debate in all this is whether or not children are born with a kind of latent ability to read and it merely needs to be activated.
No, they're born with neuroplasticity, meaning you can teach them how to read. Not knowing how to read. Who posited that? Why would that even be a point of debate? Kids will learn how to speak as well. Is this what happens when you have childless people trying to write policy for children?
They're acting like children or adults or...
Yeah, I mean, my word. There's language immersion, which is basically pattern recognition.
Yes, that's exactly what...
Yeah, never met a child before.
They've never met a child before.
Feels like it. So there's pattern recognition and then the application of the pattern. That's what language immersion is. And that's how kids learn their first language. You teach them the word one by one, and then once they have a baseline understanding of how words work, then you get into the phonics. And that's how they can develop how to read and then eventually how to write. And then once they learn how to write, they can expand their grammar. Once you teach them the rules of grammar, you can expand literacy. So what exactly is the point of whole word or critical literacy? Whole word seems like a lazy man's way to teach a language. And critical literacy is just obviously communist praxis. It's just praxis. So why would we even give it any sort of legitimacy? Praxis is antithetical to educate or to learning, I should say. Maybe education in the academic sense, if you want to count indoctrination among that. But my goodness.
Yeah, we learn in module compress, decompress, compress.
Yeah. So then why implement critical literacy unless it is explicitly to push closer towards like the sort of leftist communist ideal? It's pure praxis. Whole language learning was just what they piggybacked off of to do that, because they saw that as the one winning the war, because it's technically easier to teach, because it requires less effort up front. Path of least resistance, that's what people follow. Yeah. Losing faith in humanity 1 point at a time.
There's a ton of argument on both sides. In my opinion, this entire ridiculous, meaningless debate muddies the issue for the larger question. That is, what is the best way to teach good reading ability and habits to the average child? I say average because, of course, there will be outliers, and there will be children who have difficulties, and different methods or even completely unique methods will have to be employed for them. But the bottom line is that according to the data, on average, phonics is best. Always has been, always will be. When I was a kid, everyone, even the teachers, knew phonics was better, but they had to do as they were told. I mean, I'm sure you already know, but schools don't get the government handout if they don't use the government-approved curriculum, and that includes a lot of private schools. I mention government-approved curriculum because the state-mandated education system we have now is a recent invention.
That was under Jimmy Carter. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, hang on.
Yeah, screw that.
So, looking up when the Department of Education was established. Come on. 1979, when President Jimmy Carter signed the Department of Education Organization Act into law. Okay. So, if whole language learning was the standard through the 80s and the 90s because of Jimmy Carter, he intentionally made people dumber. Like, objectively dumber. The Department of Education is the one who sets the federal funding based off of what is taught. Then this was a direct result of government overreach. In which case, oh boy, national curriculum requires the implementation of whole language learning, which led to critical literacy. This is bad. This is really bad. That means this was set up long before a lot of us were born to combat it. My goodness.
And again, not really the focus of this video. It's worth noting, however, that in the early days, it was billionaire industrialists who bankrolled the entire concept of a federal education board. Previously, the idea that the state should have any control over the education of children was unimaginable.
That's correct.
This isn't the focus of this video, but it is an interesting aspect, especially given the fact that there is a startling amount of scholarship out there to support the claims made by some that the removal of phonics in public state-run schools actually intended to decrease or at least limit literacy. Or, as we're perhaps seeing today, transform literacy into this other thing, this critical literacy. It's open knowledge that John Dewey, the guy who built...
If you do not know what a word, it makes it much harder to recognize the patterns.
Yeah, true. That goes back to the modularity, which you were talking about. Anyway.
Into this other thing, this critical literacy. It's open knowledge that John Dewey, the guy who built the modern American education...
So there's an order to...
Yeah, there's like a hierarchy. But that's a bad word, apparently. Order of operations is a hierarchy. People don't actually like to understand that, but math is built on hierarchies. Hierarchies exist in nature. They're just there. You can't fight them. You can't get rid of them.
I love hierarchy.
Yeah. And people who pretend that you can get rid of them or flatten them into nothing don't understand how nature works. There's hierarchies in mountain ranges, for crying out loud. Inorganic compounds, hierarchies in atomic structure. You can't do anything about it. Anyway.
Education system believed that education should be focused not on education, but on deliberate, calculated social formation.
Natural.
Yep.
According to this book, which is stuffed with primary sources, the move away from phonics was intended to cut down.
A note for clarity, many modern educators use critical thinking in the same way they use critical literacy. My usage here is meant to refer to the idea more related to the traditional common sense and the ability to think for oneself. The fact she has to put that in there. Yes, that's what I assume critical thinking means as well. Critical literacy just sounds like communist gobbledygook.
On a person's ability to think critically and instead conform to, groupthink. Or as we saw in the previous definition of critical literacy, becoming conscious of one's experience as historically constructed within specific power relations and moving the reader's focus away from...
Oh boy, yeah,
critical theory does not equal critical...
Okay. We are going to look up praxis again real quick, and I think this is actually really important. Recognize praxis when you see it. The practical application of any branch of learning. Okay. Critical praxis. Critical praxis is defined as the integration and reflection. Okay. Here's what Brave search engine says. Critical praxis is defined. This is based on the AI and the search results, so take it with a grain of salt. But critical praxis is defined as the integration of reflection and action where theory informs practice and practice. Where theory informs practice and practice in turn refines theory, aiming for social transformation and emancipation. Oh boy, that is some serious gobbledygook right there. That sounds like something that a gender studies professor would say. So let me use Grok to dumb this one down to get rid of a lot of that jargon. Or oppression. Well, emancipation, if you emancipate a minor, that means to give them independence outside of their parents, as an example. Different what do you call it? Different context. I guess the TTS broke again.
Emancipation implies
yeah. Critical praxis is a way of thinking and doing that go hand in hand. It means you reflect on what's happening around you, think deeply about problems and unfair situations, and then you take real action to try to change them. At the same time, what you learn from taking action helps you improve your thinking and understanding. The goal is to make society fairer, help people become freer from things that hold them back. In short, think carefully, act to make things better, learn from the actions, keep improving, all to create positive change in the world. All right. Now phrase this like an honest person instead of like a leftist.
Sounds retarded.
Critical praxis is basically a practical loop of thinking and doing. It means you examine the world around you, question what's going on, spot the problems of fairness, take a real fix of them. You act, you learn, it actually works, or doesn't. Yeah, this. Okay. It sounds circular for sure. I don't think Grok is doing a good job. All right. Trying to think. Anyway, this is just critical praxis.
Here's the thing. And this isn't some tin hat conspiracy theory. This is a known fact that you can read about from the pens of the instigators themselves. The modern education system was not designed to teach children. When you pack up your kid with his little book bag and his lunchbox and you drop him off at school, he's not going to actually learn, except as a side dish to the primary function of education. Sure, he might be able to multiply, and if he's really bright, he might even be able to do long division and maybe even memorize all the state capitals. And they'll probably make damn sure he knows how to put a condom on a banana. But learning to read? This is a tad off topic, but I want to make this clear. When the education system in America was established and formed, it was done in an effort
Honestly, kids only 3 or 4 hours of
Yeah, and you can teach more through games than you can through like
school is
talking at them. It's really what it is. Why Sudbury schools have like similar ACT, SAT levels to traditional schools.
Socially conditioned children. The establishers and formers said so themselves on numerous occasions. To them, this was important. Children needed to be taught what to think. They needed to have their opinions formed very carefully. This is explicitly
So indoctrination. Got it.
stated in many sources. But when they were doing this establishing and forming, one of the first things they did was throw out memorizing the alphabet and learning phonics. Why they chose to do this is something I'll leave to your own deductive reasoning. A few of the sources I have available also draw.
You don't memorize the alphabet anymore in school? What? How is that helpful? Like that was thrown out? Hang on, let me listen to that again.
Out memorizing the alphabet. This is explicitly stated in many sources. But when they were doing this establishing and
We still teach that at my school, but I'm not in the States.
Fair enough.
forming, one of the first things they did was throw out memorizing the alphabet and learning phonics. Why they chose to do this is something I'll leave to your own deductive reasoning. A few of the sources I have available also draw their own fairly obvious conclusions. Do your own reading. The answer is there.
I guess she doesn't want to sound
The
like she's wearing a
absolute
tinfoil
disease
hat.
that is the American public education system was, like it or not, specifically engineered to produce adults who were just literate enough to work at factories. About the 1 or 2 level, according to the PIAAC.
That makes sense.
So looking at it that way, maybe the American education system, as designed and developed by John Dewey and co., isn't actually in decline. It's functioning exactly as intended. That is to say, to bring this back around to the context of our primary topic, the entire American education system has been deliberately built in such a way that good, beautiful, imaginative, personal writing is not only not a goal, it is actively discouraged. Removing phonics was just the first phase of this active discouragement, shifting children's focus away from figuring out or decoding words on their own and towards this hyperfixation teacher-guided, that is state-guided, analysis prevents them from learning how to build their own personal critical thinking mental muscles. Those college students who don't know how to read a book are the direct result of this kind of education.
Wow. Okay, so... Oh no. They made people stupid on purpose. Because I think I actually explained this earlier. It was to build a compliant workforce. What is the enemy of compliance? Critical thinking. If I can think of a better way to do something...
Yeah,
if I could think of a better way to do something, and I suggest it...
Also, complying Democrat.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that was the true goal, because this is how we get a lot of default Democrats, I'm starting to think.
Why else do people vote left?
And they get more conservative as they grow older. Maybe we need Omni-Man, just to look everyone in the eye and go think. My goodness. Oh, this school system is so scuffed. Let's honestly, we'd be better off without any schools at this point. That's where I'm at. They're actively harmful. Oh man.
Practically speaking, on the topic of the superiority of phonics, there is an overwhelming amount of scholarship, besides just simple analyses of the ways in which humans learn the English language or any phonetic language. There are also a lot of studies, including some enormous meta-analysis studies which collected and analyzed the data from hundreds and even thousands of literacy studies and found that yes, actually, phonics is significantly superior in teaching the simple, bare ability to read words on a page and understand what they mean. But I guess that's not nearly as important as teaching little first-grade Johnny that actually everything written prior to current year is deeply problematic, and here's why.
Huckleberry Finn's not appropriate for children. It's got the N-word in it. What even? Oh my goodness.
But that's his.
That's what they called him, yeah. He wasn't offended by that.
Jim just doesn't ring as well.
It also kind of undercuts the character to exclude that word from his name because it's actually kind of a key point to the story. But whatever. I think this is actually probably a good pause point for me. I need to use the bathroom really bad. I drink way too much water. Back in 5. Dang. I'm back. I had to use the bathroom. Anyway. I'm starting to wonder how so when I was in high school, when you know what an assigned reading for us was? Art of Darkness. I have no idea how students today would handle that. Because yeah, it's about Africa. And if you've seen Apocalypse Now, you've
I read Animal.
You read Animal Farm. Thanks TTS for not understanding the tense. It does make me wonder how much our school got away with.
And 1984.
Yeah.
Those were assigned readings.
I mean, for the gifted class.
I think our school was pretty based.
I mean, Ayn Rand was assigned reading for the gifted classes. You had Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. So, I mean, maybe the curriculum hadn't caught up with with where we were yet. Or our state just did better. Anyway.
The takeaway here is that phonics has long been the only correct way to teach your average child how to read, mainly because English is a phonetic language, unlike, say, Mandarin, which uses characters that have certain specific meanings. Sure, you can learn to read using whole language or something else besides phonics, but adults who do manage to learn that way tend to have some deficits in their reading ability, which many aren't even aware of. Teaching English in the same way you would teach Mandarin is not a natural way to deliver that knowledge to the English-speaking brain.
I wonder if that's why English speakers have a harder time learning Japanese. It's just different, such a drastically different structure. Because Japanese was built on the old Chinese language, right? And then eventually it developed into hiragana, katakana.
Well, Japanese.
Oh, it is? Well, okay, yeah, you're right. Aiueo. Yeah, fair enough. Maybe I'm mistaken. But they had to get there first, didn't they? Mandarin. Mandarin. I have no idea how to speak any of that.
Aiueo.
So maybe the phonetic language made it easier to understand, but then they still have kanji. Anyway, moving on.
The brain doesn't operate as efficiently when it reads if it was taught to read using some method other than...
It sounds like you're trying to summon something.
Phonics. The brain's ability to analyze what it is reading is greatly hindered by this lack of efficiency. And as much as it is readily obvious that the average child, and many children with reading disabilities, fare miles better with phonics than any other method, it is also apparent that all the replacement...
Yeah, kanji is where Japanese reading gets...
Yeah, and to her point on phonics, as someone with dyslexia, if I did not have phonics, I probably would have never learned how to read. Letters jump around so often, it makes it hard to pin them down. Yeah, so I get it. I really do. I still struggle with
baseball, huh?
Yeah, that tracks. I still struggle with like graph reading and stuff if it's not color coded, like alternating colors, just because, alignment is another thing that's affected. My understanding with dyslexia is it's a spatial issue. I don't know for certain, but that was my understanding of it. So with letters jumping around and all that, if I didn't have phonics, I wouldn't be able to figure out what a word is. But it does explain why I struggle with spelling. I flip letters all the time. I can't help it. I try not to.
Methods have as their primary focus not actually learning how to read, but rather learning what they're allowed to think about what they read. It follows then that removing phonics is directly related to what seems to be a deliberate effort to create uniform, simple-minded working adults who have less than functional literacy and little interest in thinking critically. Learning this kind of intensively forced and rigid conformism is built into the American education system quite literally from day one. How can such a system be expected to produce a good writer, a genuine writer? Now let's look a little closer at how one thing, removing phonics and focusing on critical literacy, leads to the other, writers who can't write. First of all, what happens when you learn phonics versus learning whole word or whole language? I mean, neurologically in the brain, what happens? Fortunately, people have recently started to study just that. In 2015, Stanford professor Bruce McCandless carried out a study in which he and his team invented a fictional language and then taught it to some study participants using phonics, and then to others using whole language. Later,
I think Before You Sleep covered this one in his video, but yeah, right.
they were tested on the language while their brain waves were being monitored. They found that the phonics learners were able to recognize the words they had learned in the blink of an eye, with the brain making instant connections with neural activity focused primarily.
Yeah, I also wanted to see the points he was making from the source itself. You know what I mean? All right, night Skip. Anyway, that was the reason I wanted to watch this video.
Good night, Skip.
Teaches you a lot.
In the left hemisphere, that is, the side of the brain most involved in logic, analytical thinking, and language processing.
Oh no. That means I'm at kind of a weird disadvantage because I'm left-handed. It means I'm right-brained.
She really went in depth.
She did. I'm left-handed, so the right hemisphere of my brain tends to fire harder. Maybe, I don't know. It's weird. It could be why I struggled with dyslexia. Who knows?
The same language test was then carried out with the whole language learners. When they were tested while their brain waves were being monitored, they were found to have longer delays in arriving at the memorized words and were unable to decipher or decode new words they hadn't yet memorized, which the phonics people could do. Much more interesting, however, was that their brain activity was focused far more primarily on the right side of the brain, the side most involved in art, feeling, creativity, and imagination. I hope Professor McCandless will forgive my making some generalizations here, but this study tells me that those who learn languages by some method other than phonics rely hugely on their feelings and, crucially, their imagination to determine and remember words and their meanings. As we all know, feelings and imagination are subjective, changeable, and prone to manipulation. We see this a lot with young adults throwing their weight around academic debates by shifting the definitions of words to fit into whatever it is they're trying to say, or tossing together a big word.
Oh, she's describing leftism so well. My goodness. Like, I know she's trying to avoid talking directly about politics, but man, it gets so annoying so fast. People collapsing the is-ought distinction, stuff like that. I know. Oh man.
Word salad. A lack of precision in language leads to.
Strangely, I am also.
Yeah, I'm pretty uncreative, weirdly. I'm left-handed, but uncreative. Maybe it's a freeing up of the cognitive load. My imagination is dedicated to the writing part, and then my logic takes over for everything else. I'm not sure. We'd have to look into that.
To a lack of precision in writing. If a writer lacks precision, they will never be able to convey the actual thoughts in their head in a way that the reader will be able to understand. There are a lot of other fascinating studies and analyses being done on the neurological goings-on in the brain when learning to read, but something that seems overall consistent is that phonics trains the logical, critical thinking parts of the brain, while other methods tend to center on the emotional and imaginative parts of the brain. And also that phonics is far more efficient neurologically. Anyone who has ever tried to write anything will tell you that imagination is great when it comes to telling a story, but when it comes to prose, choosing the words with which the story will be told, precision is key. Precision and constantly growing vocabulary and the ability to think critically.
Again, the clarification. Oh man, this is very dense informationally, but this also applies to like philosophy, debate, and general communication. Precision is key. At the same time, doesn't matter how precise you are.
Learning in general.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how precise you are talking to someone that's emotional because they'll just.
As a teacher, am eating this up.
Yeah, fair enough. But when you communicate with someone emotional, they will only read how it feels, not what you're saying. It's weird.
All of which are hindered and even stunted when a non-phonics approach is used to teach reading. Now, because critical thinking is essential in literary pursuits, I shouldn't have to explain how much this stunts potential writers. But the ability to think critically, that is, in this case, read a paragraph and understand what all the words mean on their own, what they mean when they're put together, how they're being used to portray an idea or paint a picture, and so on, that's all part of critical thinking. Real critical thinking. Without critical thinking, all a person can do is read the paragraph and then let someone else tell them how those words come together and form an idea and so forth. And then they'll know what the paragraph means. This manifests constantly in daily life. Ask someone what they thought of the movie they just watched, and they'll be like, well, Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 62% fresh, so... Okay, yes, but what did you think of you just watched?
I'm thinking of the Avatar Way of Water and how I felt like I was the only one that didn't like the movie. And it was just because the story was so self-serving to the creator that I compared it to like James Cameron filming himself jacking off and then making us pay $12.50 to watch it. Oh my word. That's what I felt about the movie. And if I were to go into detail, it'd be like emotional gut punches, setup without payoff, and the payoffs being incongruent with the setup, characterizations being wasted, lack of characterizations in some case, being told, not shown, the character dynamics not feeling natural. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel about any female-led story in modern times. Just a big circle jerk.
Yeah, it feels like that, for sure. But it's also, I think when I look at Way of Water specifically, it was James Cameron saying, look at how great I am. Here's the jingly keys. The story and the coherence, who cares? Unobtainium. Avatar is not a good series. I don't care what anyone says. And I'm not talking about The Last Airbender. I'm talking about James Cameron's The Avatar. The story writing is bad. The visuals are great. That's it. Same can apply to Titanic, really, when I think about it.
Blue people.
Yeah.
This movie was...
If all you like is spectacle, yeah, but for story and world building, it was so shallow.
I don't remember any characters.
Yeah, but you know who Boromir is. You know who Aragorn is. You know who Frodo is. Maybe you don't know who Tom Bombadil is, but maybe that's because you only watch the movies.
I know all the...
Yeah, that should kind of be the difference there. The storytelling makes you care enough about the characters to learn their names. But, you know,
General consensus on IMDb is that it's an above-average film. Ask a person what they thought of the book they just read, and they'll tell you what Twitter user 719 said. Ask a person if the restaurant
I couldn't tell you.
they ate at last night was any good, and they'll tell you what the review in the Times said. Ask a person who they think they should vote for, and they'll start quoting the army of influencers who tell them what to think. Probably using the same limited vocabulary of generative words. Things have gotten even more surreal and bizarre now. Now you ask your work friend if that book they're reading is any good and they fire up ChatGPT to get an answer. Now we're not even relying on other humans to tell us what to think, but machines. Machines which were designed and programmed by the new wave of billionaire industrialists. And no one thinks twice about it because they were raised from the crib to let others tell them how to analyze text before they were even taught their...
I wonder if she realizes she's explaining why agreeableness is what determines how well you get through college instead of intellect or openness. Used to it was openness. Can you imagine if Sir Isaac Newton was high in agreeableness? We'd be negotiating physics with no objective measure. This is like, I hate connecting dots like this. It makes me feel like humanity was, or our society as a whole, was designed to fail. Planned obsolescence. That is the American experience, or the American experiment currently. Ever since 1979, apparently. My goodness.
ABCs, they were taught that their own minds were not to be trusted to understand words on a page. And we wonder why feelings have become...
When Kellis shakes, bring all the boys to the yard.
Like the cartoon sound effect for boing, you know, boing.
Obvious means milkshake.
Her literal milkshake, yeah. She makes just like the best vanilla milkshake ever.
That's the level of interpretation.
Wait, they don't even get innuendo? Oy vey. That has to be like level 1, right? Level 2 would have to at least get the innuendo, right? I don't know. 58% of people told me that, oh no, she means her actual milkshakes. Oh no, it's like saying, oh hey, what's the message, or what do they mean whenever they're saying cake by the ocean? Yeah.
the only metric by which society can judge morality. Feelings are the only thing people were ever taught was legitimate or valid, which is why if you hurt someone's feelings, that is, to people trained in this way, infinitely worse than saying something that is factually inaccurate. No.
You told the truth and it hurt my feelings. That makes you a bad person. I'm sorry? The truth is neutral.
Ouchie.
Yeah, no, feelings absolutely can be invalid. I don't know what else to say about that. Band-Aid for my emotional boo-boo. I guess here's some SSRIs. I don't know what else to tell you. But yeah, anyone with anxiety and depression can tell you that your emotions can absolutely be invalid. How you feel about something is not always accurate to the truth. So, you know.
Yeppers.
No one thinks anymore. This is directly related to how they were taught to read. Let's put aside the fact that the current state of the American public education system is embarrassing, and the fact that SAT scores, despite endless massaging and padding, are still in the toilet. Even those who did manage to successfully learn to read in school and can now be counted among the literate citizens of this country did not learn actual authentic literacy, but this other weird Orwellian critical literacy. I want to go back now to that 2024 study I cited earlier, which assessed English Lit majors' ability to read Dickens. This whole study is very readable and brief. I highly recommend reading it if you're interested in the subject. But one of the most interesting areas that the study's organizers wanted to assess specifically was the actual way in which the readers obtained meaning from the passages. Only 5% of the 85 participants in this study were able to comfortably read and interpret the novel Bleak House accurately. That is, only 4 of the 85 people were able to read the words on the page and then tell the facilitators what those words meant accurately. As I said before, 58% were not able to even understand the individual sentences. Wow. These 58% were categorized as problematic readers.
Couldn't understand the individual sentences? Okay, even my skimming was better than that. Oh no. Oh man.
That's sad.
Yeah, no, that's really sad. Yeah, rip education, I guess. My goodness, this whole system is botched. This is at the college level too. Like, English majors. What?
And were described by the study's authors as lacking effective reading tact, so much so that they couldn't comprehend the way syntaxes and clauses worked together and couldn't tie the meaning of one sentence to the next. Essentially, to 58% of the studied college-level English literature majors, Bleak House was... This is particularly...
Gibberish. What? It wasn't gibberish. It was just... What's the word again? Illustrative? Trying to paint a picture with words. It's describing the scene. It's setting everything up. Yeah.
I found it rather entertaining.
I get why it could feel like a word jumble. Some of the language is a bit dated. Like eights. Eights are not a common thing you hear a lot. Like, it's a word that doesn't get used often. Why? I didn't think it was that hard.
To be fair, we grew up with...
Yeah, antiquated English is not something we're unfamiliar with, I guess. Anyway.
Evident when you read the transcripts of their reading sessions. 2 of the tactics used most often by these readers were oversimplification and guessing. One reader explained how she read the words first without really thinking and then tried to analyze them later.
And they grew up with no bias.
Oh, read the words together and then went... Hold on, what?
Explained how she read the words first without really thinking and then tried to analyze them later.
So like she saw the words and then didn't analyze them? How's she going to comprehend anything? Oh no.
One said she never analyzed individual sentences, but rather looked at the general meaning of the whole thing. The other bad reading tactic these readers had was commenting. That is, these readers were instructed to translate Dickens' prose into exact modern words.
Without reading?
Yeah, I guess so. Hold on. The assignment changed. The exact assignment's being given, and that's what I would have had to ask clarification on, so... Let me hear what she says for that.
That is, these readers were instructed to translate Dickens' prose into exact modern words, but instead of doing that, they made general comments about what they thought of the text. All of this...
They didn't understand the instructions. They just go word for word, find every word that you know, keep it as it is, and then look for the words that you don't know, and change them to ones that you do. Look them up, change them to what you do. Like, you have to understand what the text is saying, sure. But this is not a hard assignment. It's like word substitution.
These bad reading tactics, as I'm sure you remember, are the direct result of training kids in critical literacy. In reality, these students are performing exactly as trained. They're following the precise instructions they received when they were learning to read, and this is the result. 96% of these problematic readers said they were confused at least once. 57% ignored figures of speech. 41% interpreted them literally at least once. 92% used general personal commentary instead of explaining Dickens' actual prose as asked. Most guessed the wrong meanings of words they didn't know and then didn't bother to look them up. Some did look them up, but still couldn't figure out how the word worked in the sentence. And so...
Jeez. Wow. Okay. I really want to see what this assignment was and see how I do with it. My goodness. These people can vote. Oh, man.
So on and so on. What interests me even more, however, is this 38% right here. 38% of the 85 study participants could understand the grammar and a fair amount of the vocabulary, but could not interpret the actual text. The study organizers called these students competent, which I personally think is... These are people who have a relatively advanced understanding of the English language, advanced enough to be able to follow the prose of a particularly eloquent passage. Despite that, these competent readers did not understand what they were reading. The published study describes at length the specific ways in which these readers read, and one of the most compelling findings was that, as the authors themselves observed, these 38% were comfortable with their confusion.
I don't get it, but that's okay. This is fine. The lack of clarity does not bother me. Oh, my head hurts. I'm tired.
I mean...
man.
I don't know what to...
Yeah. I mean, there's humility in saying I don't know something, right? But, I'm a little confused here. Like, they didn't want to learn anything about the text at all to do well in the assignment? Like, there's no motivation there? Is this a motivational failure kind of thing? I don't know what to say about it.
If they didn't know a word, they'd guess and move on without confirming, aware that they were moving forward without certainty as to meaning.
When learning a language, it's important to absorb things you don't know. You have to try to... They're comfortable not trying to...
Aggressively ignorant. Got it.
Vaguely interpret something they understand, shrug their shoulders or brush it aside, and move on. They were very often wrong. 96% defined words incorrectly. 46% skipped words they didn't know, like they weren't even there. There was a passivity to these readers. Despite being able to understand the English language on the page, despite being, as the authors of the study called it, competent readers.
Was there a time constraint? I think that would change things, especially for me, just because dyslexia. If there was no time constraint, they told me, hey, this is the assignment, I would have been able to probably understand it, at least eventually. I'm the kind of stubborn that would keep going until I get it.
When they were done reading the opening passage in Bleak House, they didn't even know that the passage that they had read involved lawyers and a courtroom.
I think it was an assignment that they took.
Wasn't Chancery mentioned multiple times?
So the time constraint was probably...
Okay, yeah, but I don't really try on homework because it's homework.
It mentioned that they looked up SparkNotes.
Yeah, maybe there was nothing... There was no incentive to try, maybe, but at the same time, if I was offered hey, if you do well, you get $50 for participating, $100 for doing above average, and then $150 for doing well, I would have actually tried really hard at that point. But man, I don't know. Hang on, I gotta pull up Project Gutenberg again because we might do this off the video, but I need to look this up again.
This was an assignment for lit majors. That's still wild.
Yeah, no, that's brutal. I have to make going over the study a second video.
One transcript demonstrated how a reader read this passage. London, Michaelmas term lately over, and the Lord Chancellor sitting in Lincoln's Inn Hall.
Okay, so they said it doesn't involve lawyers, but then what's it? Chancellor in the courthouse kind of thing. What? Lincoln's Inn Hall, implacable November weather, as much mud in the streets. Because London weather during the wintertime is very rainy. What is newly retired on the face of the earth, and it would not be wonderful to meet a megalosaurus. It's so muddy, it might as well be an excavation site. 40 feet long or so, waddling like an elephantine lizard up the Auburn Hill, smoke lowering down. Yeah? What? Facilitator, before you go on, I'm okay. Before you go on, I'm going to ask you to explain. What what you read so far.
Placable November weather, as much mud in the streets as if the waters had but newly retired from the face of the earth.
Isn't Michaelmas referring to a Catholic holiday, specifically like for the Archangel Michael? Michaelmas term lately over. That kind of describes the time of year, I think, right? The Lord Chancellor is sitting in Lincoln's Inn Hall. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I would assume it's a time, though.
Yeah. No, that's going to be too distracting. But yeah, no, I assume that based off of Christmas. But
I think
Lord Chancellor, I mean,
and it would not be
look all this
wonderful
stuff
to
up,
meet
though.
a megalosaurus, 40 feet long or so, waddling like an elephantine lizard up Holborn Hill. The subject then interpreted that two characters named Lord Chancellor and Michaelmas encountered an animal while they were walking down the street.
Okay, I no, I was not even like that's not even the same neighborhood of where I was at. I was like, I didn't know this is like setting the scene, right? oh, oh man, I think the TTS broke for that. But yeah, way too literal. Goodness, yeah. Wow, two characters. What?
Elephantine lizard up Holborn Hill. The subject then interpreted that two characters named Lord Chancellor and Michaelmas.
Lord Chancellor is a character now. that's a character name. Yeah. Do I just know what more words are? A Lord Chancellor, that's a position. Lord being noble, Chancellor being a job. Well, am I the crazy one? My word.
Encountered an animal while they were walking down the street. She was satisfied with her interpretation. I want to make one thing very clear here. No one is mocking these students' lack of vocabulary.
I kind of am. Like, honestly, you kind of...
she was satisfied.
I guess I could mock the satisfaction from that. My word. I'm going to need to read the transcript on this. What is happening?
Knowledge. I have to look up words I don't know all the time. The biggest and most significant factor here, at least to me, is that these college undergrads didn't even bother doing that. They had permission to look up anything they didn't know, and they just didn't bother. They felt they knew the meaning, assumed they were right, and moved on. English majors at a major university. A point that I want to make sure you understand is that as alarming as this is, it's exactly critical literacy. Exactly. These students, most of whom self-reported getting A's and B's in English in high school, were demonstrating critical literacy. They could obviously read all the individual words just fine, and they were focused on using their feelings to guide broad interpretation of what the text might be conveying, and also were comfortable relying on sources like SparkNotes and Wikipedia to understand the meaning of the text. These two subject groups, problematic and competent, were demonstrating perfectly adequate critical literacy.
Wow. It was by design. Oh no. Man, that's...
I'm shook.
Me too. Oh man. School makes you retarded. End school. Get rid of it. My goodness. If this is the quality we're getting out of it, what is the point? What is the point? Seriously. You're better off not having school at all. Play in the park. Oh my goodness.
It's worth noting that a decent chunk of these students intended to go on to creative writing. These students, all 85 of them, knew how to read. These students knew when they looked at words on the page what those individual...
You know those people ask colleges to name 5 countries. They say Texas, Asia. That's what...
It does. Name 5 countries. Just word Stan. You'll be close. So many of those. Oh man. France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Lithuania, Liechtenstein, Texas, Asia. I'm going to name a state in the U.S. and a continent. Oh no.
They major in literacy.
Literature majors
Should know this.
They should know how to read properly. I don't even know. I don't even know if this is like a how to read. Like you can look at words on paper and read them, I guess, but then you can't comprehend what they're saying. I think I have retard fatigue. This is making it worse.
Word said. By the most basic metric in existence, their literacy was just fine. Almost all the studies that I found that claim that literacy was unaffected by the means used to teach it This is the kind of literacy they're talking about. You look at the page and know what the words say. Yet, look at how little these educated adults actually understand.
Maybe Andrew Wilson thing about how low IQ populaces can.
Yeah. I mean, evidence points to that anyway. That's just an anthropological fact. But, and this is lowering the collective IQ of the U.S. The critical literacy. Okay. If I was president, I would stop funding anything that's critical theory based, because this praxis is destructive, like actually destructive. Oh my goodness. You know, it makes sense though. If they want equality, they have to cut down the smartest. What's the best way to cut down the smartest? Prevent them from learning properly at an early age.
More than that, look at how utterly unequipped they are to figure out how to understand what they read. These are adults who will go on to raise or teach or otherwise participate in the education and upbringing of the next generation of human beings.
And they can
also,
vote.
It's worth adding the next generation of writers. This fascinating 2023 article from The Atlantic, of all places, called attention to the fact that there was something very wrong with how educators have been teaching kids to relate to books. Children are being taught analysis according to the methods I've shown so far, methods which destroy organic, authentic critical thinking, long before they're simply given a book and asked to read it, which is to say that kids are first taught the right way to read a book, and then they are allowed, with supervision, to read parts of that book. And then their interpretation is assessed, and if found faulty, it is corrected. The author of this article had noticed that this has effectively destroyed a child's nascent love for reading before it even has a chance to develop. Think of how that relates to the readers who were assessed in that 2024 study. What else would you expect from training children to read in this way?
Yeah. Oh, no. You aren't reading correctly. You may have read that, you know, Huckleberry Finn helped this guy get to another place, and you saw that as, oh, they're running away. But what's really happening is they're striving for freedom and all this virtue and value and all this other stuff. And good grief. Buzzwords, feel-goodisms, and oh, such a hug box that we've made for our entire society. Basing it on the literature, that how we think about it, and you having your own thoughts on it. Maybe you don't like Jim. Maybe you think Jim made a bad decision by running away. Well, you're wrong. I don't know.
You saw the animal you threw away.
Yeah, for real. Oh, good grief.
Think about the students who say they don't know how to read a whole book. Of course they don't. If they're being taught in this way, they'll be conditioned to believe that reading a whole book is a matter of hyper-specific, highly regimented analysis, and if teacher isn't there to show them how can they possibly be expected to do it? These kids are being conditioned to be this way. What does this mean for writing? First of all, this means that writers are no longer writing what they think and what they perceive and what they intuit and even what they feel. Sure, they're writing what they're supposed to, and they're paying very...
Oh, man. That explains so much of the modern, media. Last of Us Part 2. Storytelling is going to become a lost art. I feel it.
Very close attention to generative themes.
You know, maybe we invent time travel.
It feels like it. You know what was a good book? The Time Machine. Anyways.
And all those generative words like wealth and slums and, you know.
She didn't say it, but come on. These are all leftist buzzwords. Come on. Oh, man. Just say it. Just say it. You know what the issue is. It's leftism. Progressive nonsense. The communists. Just say it. You don't have to hide it. It's like, yes, my audience will get annoyed if I bring politics into this, but this is actually... Everything you've talked about is directly tied to politics, because this comes from a subset of people that believe everything is political. So you need to kind of fight them where they're at, so to speak. You have to meet them where they are in that battlefield. Because if we're stuck in different grounds, then we'll never be able to address the root cause of the problem.
Just as a reader, as trained by this system, has to consult some other source to tell them what the text they just read was saying, a writer trained in this way has to consult some other authority to make sure they're thinking and perceiving and intuiting and feeling the right things the right way. That is, that they are writing the right way. And it's not just that they want to conform, although that's a factor, it's that they have not been taught how to understand or even find meaning in text by their own authority and power. Never mind what this means for actual.
Is this why people prefer Harry Potter over Lord of the Rings? Harry Potter kind of handholds you a bit into thinking this is the good guy, and you can kind of predict the twist villains and stuff like that pretty easily. I think Harry Potter would be at a lower reading level overall than, say, Lord of the Rings. Something to consider.
Free expression and individual thought. There is zero room for creativity to grow organically within this. This means that now, when a writer looks at a sunset, say, they don't really spend much time thinking about the words and imagery they want to use to describe it themselves. They aren't, with their own grasp of the language and all its nuances, which authentic literacy would have taught them how to find and use on their own, constructing the imagery themselves with their words in their minds. They aren't feeling their own feelings and thinking their own thoughts. Even in a world where everything is feelings, none of those feelings are allowed to come from the person's own mind, but have to be fed into them like loading software into a computer. They aren't then able to take that word image and rearrange everything so it flows well, so it evokes the right emotion, so it settles into the imagery and atmosphere they're building, so it just sounds beautiful. No, that skill for them has only been cultivated outside genuine critical thinking, which means writers have not been equipped with the necessary skills to do these things on their own. They have no choice but to muddle through without even knowing what they don't know.
Enforced ignorance. Huh. Sorry, this is making me think a lot. I'm listening as I think. But man, yeah, in the creative writing field, that order of operations kind of matters here because story coherence matters. If your scene's not coherent, no one's going to understand what's happening. If you can't paint a clear picture, to paint a clear picture, you need to understand what order things happen in. So to say like something happened before, like something that would have been dependent on another thing to happen, and if you swap them, it makes it just really weird. That looks like a typo. But man, yeah, no. I'm starting to feel a little better about my writing abilities, to be honest.
Or they do exactly what their creative writing professor tells them to do. If you've ever wondered why all modern literary fiction reads the same, there you go. All right, there's one more thing I want to talk about really quickly, and that's this thing called prosody. Everything we've discussed.
Prosody, the science of versification, that part of the study of language which deals with the forms of metrical composition, formerly reckoned as part of grammar. Versification? Versification. Like to make something a verse? Time to use the dictionary. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing. Merriam-Webster, help me. Versification. Hey, I said it right. The making of verses. Okay. Metrical structure, prosody, a particular metrical structure or style, a version in verse of something originally in prose. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Prior to now has had to do with clarity and precision when writing. Now we're going to talk about beauty. We're not going to spend too much time on this, but this is something I think is very often overlooked when assessing an individual's potential literary ability. That is, their ability not just to read, but also to write. I personally believe good prosody is essential in writers. For the sake of clarity, I'll simplify this just a little. Prosody has to do with a person's inflection, rhythm, etc. while reading, mainly reading aloud. If a person has good...
I suck at reading aloud. I suck so bad at reading aloud. It's either too slow or too fast. I'm bad at it. I have to read in advance first and then go back and reread. Dyslexia.
Prosody, that means that he or she understands and is able to use the rhythm and flow of words in a sentence to both interpret subtler meanings and to convey subtler meanings. So looking at this, you can see how this could also allow a person to both identify beautiful prose and also write it themselves. Good prosody means a reader can interpret the flow, rhythm, and meaning of the text. Flip that around to writing. If you have good prosody, you'll then be better equipped to build sentences that have good flow and rhythm and use that flow and rhythm to add subtler meaning to those sentences.
I hope she
This
gives an
study
example.
looked at adult readers who had grown up learning phonics and readers who had grown up learning whole language. They had comparable literacy, as we've discussed, but the phonics adults had much better prosody. What does this mean? Have you ever read a bit of Dickens or Hemingway or Waugh, Coolidge, Frost, etc., pick one, and been moved not just by the imagery of the descriptions, but also by the way the language itself seemed to have a musical quality?
Yeah, Frost is a great example of that. The road less traveled is it's calming to me. I like it a lot.
Obviously, this is more apparent in poetry, but let's look at prose. I'm going to read you one paragraph from a Pulitzer Prize-winning book from 1935 and one paragraph from a book that won the Booker Prize in 2023. I want you to listen not just to the words, anyone can write words, I want you to listen to the flow and rhythm of the words. I've chosen prestigious literary prize winners for this example because these prizes have as a prerequisite good prose. So a winner of such a prize should be said to have then, in some way, produced prose that wasn't just typical of its times, but also exceptional. This is Josephine Johnson's novel, Now in November, which won the Pulitzer in 1935. Now, we're not talking about content or what the book is about. None of that matters right now. All I want you to listen to is the rhythm and flow of the language. And then Karen's light went out, and I heard her move in bed, and the old haunting fear came back. A kind of dark stain over all other thoughts. We seemed to lie here, locked and coffined inside ourselves, and only Merle still free of the love or hate or fear that was shut inside. And it seemed to me, lying there in the dark, that the more I thought or read or saw, the more oppressive and tangled with choice life came to be. Not tangled in daily living, perhaps, but in the whole plan and pattern of it. The living itself was easy enough to do when the days were too full for thought, and clothes wearing down fast to bone, soaking up dirt.
I've never seen someone describe like burnout so poetically. My goodness. Life is a grind, and it feels like it. That's what I'm getting from this.
Like sponges. There was no question of what to do when it took 2 hours to get food ready for 15 minutes of eating, and no particular choice to make except between radishes and beans. But it was the meaning of all these evident things that still stayed hidden. Every new thought seemed to open a door, but when the mind rushed forward to enter, the door was slammed shut, leaving it dazed outside. I seemed often on the threshold of some important and clarifying light, some answer to more than the obvious things, and then it was shut away. Now this is Prophet Song by Paul Lynch, which won the 2023 Booker Prize. First Ben to creche, and then the children to school. Molly stepping from the passenger door of the Touran with headphones on while Bailey slams the back door. Eilish watching over her shoulder as he stands pointillist by the glass, pulling at his parka hood. She is moving out onto the road when a hand bangs on the window. Molly is shouting for her to stop. The door pulls open and Molly grabs her gym bag from the floor and is gone. The winter light, a cold November smear.
I thought Hemingway was terse. What is this? Thing happened. Thank you. Yes, this is like reporting, but I feel my brain melting a little.
She is moving through traffic, sensing her own exhausted emotion, her motions automatic. Resting at the red light, she sees not the day ahead, but how the day will pass without impression, another day forgotten and absorbed into the silent reckoning of days.
How many times can we put days in the same paragraph? I get it.
Seeing herself at work, and how she no longer thinks of her work as a career. The real work of a microbiologist is standing at the bench for long hours seeking evidence, testing hypothesis against reality, against whatever an individual might seek to believe. The answer, true or false, is found in the result. Now she spends her days on email and phone, specialist become generalist without a white coat, managing personnel, adrift during meetings, asking the wrong question. It should be evident here what I'm talking about. This isn't a matter of sentence length or vocabulary size. There is a natural flow to Josephine Johnson's prose that is completely lacking in Paul Lynch's. One reads like running water or pouring syrup. The other is interrupted, aborted segments of flow, arrested by cumbersome hitches in the rhythm of the sentences.
Yep. Repetition's the mother of learning, apparently, because this guy repeated so many of the same words over and over again. So much so that it caused me to get bored. No variety, no real descriptive language there. It was all just kind of like, how would I describe it?
That was hard to...
Yeah, it was. I wanted to skip past it. It was, it took what should have been a pretty simple concept and made it way more words than necessary. So, but both kind of did that. One did it in a way that kind of made you feel the exhaustion baked into it and how it feels like the expectations of life were crushing in around you. The other one just kind of felt like droning. Paul Lynch writing there was like, I'm emphasizing days. I'm emphasizing work. We get it, dude. Might as well have just written out boy howdy, this is tiresome, and I don't like it. I learned nothing about the characters there. I saw a couple of like brief interactions with the world, and then nothing. It was all just like telling me. It didn't show me anything. Ugh. Ugh. Maybe that's okay for a first draft, but man, that was brutal.
An excellent example would be this sentence. The winter light, a cold November smear. She is moving through traffic, sensing her own exhausted emotions. Her motions automatic. There is no flow here, no rhythm. It can be said that such a thing isn't necessary for a good book, or even for clarity and precision.
I don't know
of
if
course.
the jet lag is making me tired or it was that bad.
I got tired listening to that.
The point I'm making is that modern readers, and therefore modern writers, are no longer being taught how to read in a way that will, among many other things, allow them to detect and also to produce a beautiful rhythm in their prose. This came very naturally to almost any educated person in the days before these education reforms. I mean, look at this page from a Sears Roebuck catalog from 1945. Certain suit makers have a particular talent for turning out styles that do wonderful things for your figure. Certain mills produce the perfect fabric for this kind of suit. When you bring both together, you have something special.
This is a very good promotion.
That's what happened here. Walther, an American mill famous for producing quality fabrics, loomed this velvety smooth Venetian covert specially for Sears Roebuck. And what suit was worthy of this fine fabric? Our supple, precisely fitted cardigan style. It's an ad, and it has better flow than 2023's.
You want to go buy a cardigan? I kind of want to go buy a cardigan now. That was good. Wow, that was an ad.
Booker Prize winner. All right, that's all a tricky area, but if you're interested in expanding your thoughts on this idea, I invite you to open any old book, one that was written by a writer not subjected to these reformed ways of teaching.
Yeah, I could use some fashionable.
Gotta find a Sears that's still open.
And read passages out loud. That's the best way to feel and hear this rhythm. Then do the same with anything you can find on a shelf at the bookstore published in this decade. Compare them and see what you think. We should probably wrap this up. We all know that there's something wrong with the current year average person's ability to write. We've reached this surreal dystopian point at which people everywhere seem to believe that using a machine to edit and adjust your writing style and flow, not to speak of the words and meaning, is not just normal, it's encouraged. I want to say this. If you want to be a writer, delete your Grammarly keyboard, your Grammarly Chrome extension, and anything else. If you have any other kind of AI assist on your phone or computer keyboards or word processors, turn them off or delete them. Do it now. I'm not even screwing around. Nothing, and I mean this, nothing is worse for your literary intelligence, critical thinking, and creative imagination than using AI in any way, shape, or form for your writing. What about the future? What about the next generation? What about all the kids and teenagers who will one day be writers and editors?
See, I'm not sure if I fully agree with that, because to me, AI is just a tool. But then again, I'm not letting AI tell me what to do.
I've always thought Grammarly.
Yeah, it is. I mostly look for typo help and like sort of conciseness, clarity. But hey, you can probably go back and do some like creative prompt writing just to kind of get back into practice. I guess I'm just paranoid because I don't believe in my own talent. Because I can outline well, but I don't write well. I write okay. I don't know, prompt writing practice, stuff like that, reading through my own stuff. I hate reading my own material, though. It feels so cringe.
I write pretty well, apparently.
Yeah, well, we'll see. This is something I might do tonight just before I go to sleep.
Though I write better when...
I do better telling stories orally than in writing. I don't know why. Excuse me. Anyway.
Who are currently neck deep in critical literacy classes. What about that? Well, I don't know. Every person has to figure out what to do with their own situation. Me personally, I couldn't read until the 2nd grade when my father had to teach me phonics himself. And then he also pulled me out of public school and homeschooled me for as long as he could. Eventually, I finished my education in a small private school where I managed to graduate valedictorian. But even I still sometimes feel the effects of 2 years of whole language and looks still. Maybe I was lucky. If you have kids and you can homeschool them,
oh man.
Once you start looking into just how bad the American education system is, you'll start to get pretty angry, probably. It's bad. However bad you think it is, it's worse. Have a look at some of the books in the list if you want to see for yourself.
Oh boy.
People talk about this being a post-literate age, and that is, in many respects, completely true. but it's also fixable. The problem is it cannot happen at the institutional level. No one, especially not some random little YouTuber like me, is going to get the United States Department of Education.
Yeah, I'm glad Trump defunded the Department of Education.
He more broke up the functions, but yeah, it's basically a husk, which is probably for the best. Once they get rid of it for good, that's when we're in better shape.
Education to change how they teach kids to read. But what we can do is change how we learn to read and how we teach our kids to read. And then we can learn how to write, and we can teach our kids how to write, and we can educate ourselves with the unlimited resources that we have at our disposal. And we can ignore the terrible, worthless institutions and take charge of our own minds. At the risk of sounding like a guru, you're a human being with opposable thumbs and free will. Now go do something. Just a reminder, check out the link below if you want to see links to all the studies and articles I talked about, or if you want to browse some interesting additional information about the topics we discussed here. Secondary reminder, I've recently added some October recommendations to my bookshop store. You can check that out too. You can also use my affiliate link to buy anything you want from bookshop.com, even if it's not in my personal store, and it supports me and helps me making videos and maintain my frankly alarming coffee habit. And also auto, obviously. Anyway, I know this was a long one, and I really want to thank you for making it to the end. I really appreciate all of you, and I want to thank you not just for watching, but also for always starting such interesting conversations in the comments. That's really something to see. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.
That's a good video. Very dense.
Good, dense, in-depth video. Kind of spooky now, though. Haha.
Oh, when I hit the like, it was a light bulb. That's cool. Yeah, me too. Like that. Oh, man. A lot happening with that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Anyway, from my perspective...
We need our likes to have puppies.
I'll see if I can manage that one day. From my perspective, I don't know. The only place I kind of disagree with her is AI. I think that there's a place for it, but maybe she's speaking to more general. I don't know. Maybe that's just a point of contention. I'd have to defend it to her. Other than that, I mostly agree with what she said. And all this has really done for me is make me hate Praxis even more. Critical theory, I already hated it. I hate critical theory Praxis even more after this because she basically said a lot about Praxis without saying Praxis. She's not a political channel, so I get it. So I'll just say it plain for what she couldn't say. This is what leftist takeover looks like, and why we have so many default Democrats out there. Why we have so many people who follow the current thing. But yeah, if you guys made it to the end,
Homeschool your
kids, and subscribe to the second story. And if you found my commentary if you found my commentary insightful or even vaguely entertaining, consider dropping a like, comment, and subscribe. And maybe tell me about what you think can save the world or save the American education system, because I've got some thoughts on that. And currently, I think no education system is better than what we have. Take care, and bye-bye.